whoever pulled us aside and gave you the formula for success? I never got it. Like I had
Yeah.
to search for it, trial
Mhm.
and error, reading. I mean, it was a quest. And so some guys genuinely don't know. Like they were never taught. In fact, for the most part, they may have picked up the wrong thing from their parents or teachers, whatever, fixed mindsets. And that's one group. And the other group is like, yeah, I know I should do those things, but either I don't know how or I don't feel like it. Right. And
Mm.
so then it's setting up life systems to help you do what you know you should do.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to Life Inner Show. I'm your host, Jason Wojo. On the Life Inner Show, we help people make more, work less, and create lives and businesses they love. I am joined by my co-host, Polish Peter. What's up, brother?
Hey, man. So you're looking good.
Dude, I'm kind of I'm hanging in there. I still got the sling on the arm for the shoulder surgery. I'm on all kinds of meds. So if I say anything that you can't understand or it doesn't make sense, that's my excuse.
So how many fingers am I holding right now?
Yeah.
You can't tell people.
I can't tell. All right.
So,
dude.
I love this interview. I have one word for this interview.
Bro,
Wow.
this is a wow interview. You guys are in for a treat. Let me tell you this. We have Greg Denning on the line. And here's a guy who has him and his wife and their 7 kids travel around the world. They are just incredible people that are not only experiencing different cultures, but they're a force for good. They're focused on growth. They are talking about how to improve and how to live an extraordinary life and have an extraordinary family and do all these amazing things that most people would think are impossible, quite frankly.
Yeah. So when you're listening to this episode, I want you guys to hear from the perspective of, we talk about coming from the broken form, the environment. You might be stuck in the wrong environment. How do you actually make a difference for yourself and the life around you? How you break through the fears? How do you go and live that vision? Why is it important, right? And what's the mission and family legacy and all those kinds of things? I mean,
all of it's
this
in here,
was
man.
an amazing interview.
Yeah,
So
this is
take
you
a lot
guys
of
are
notes.
gonna love this one. Man, I can't even wait. Let's jump into it right now. Here's our interview with Greg Denning. Greg, what's up, man? Welcome to Life Inner Show.
So good to be here, guys. Good to reconnect after all these years,
Dude,
man.
it's been a long time. So when actually was that? Do you remember the first time we met? It has to have been like, gosh, 8+ years ago at least.
I think it was just over 8 years.
And I was first introduced to you through Steve Cook, and I don't know, how did you guys connect?
Man, I can't even remember.
Yeah.
Like somehow there was some kind of connection. We started talking, then we were able to meet up in Guatemala, and I can't remember, but it's just been a beautiful relationship following you guys. And
Ben, it's been super cool. So tell people, like, first of all, how did you end up in Guatemala that time we first met? Because there's a story behind this.
Yeah, there's a big, long story, and we can touch on whatever pieces of it. But my wife and I, we've been married 22 years now. We have 7 kids, and
Wow.
we kind of bought into the American dream, right? And we thought so I grew up in a broken home. My mom is on her 6th marriage. And so I left home at 16, right? I was out on the streets just trying to figure out life.
Mhm.
And so when I got married and like I got a job, I was like, we have arrived. Like, this is it. I get a paycheck every other Friday. We got the white picket fence, a couple of dogs, like, woo. But my wife and I were voracious readers, and we just read and read and read. And of course, it exposes you to new ideas. And one day we were just like, it was mostly her. She's like, babe, I think we can do life differently. Like, it doesn't have to look like this. You don't have to, we can start dreaming outside of the script, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I was resistant. I was like, no way, that's crazy. And then we started reading them, like, and then started talking to people like, this is actually possible. So we left our corporate job that I loved initially, and then we just started wandering, and we ended up just wandering down through Mexico and Central America, and got down there and started learning Spanish and doing humanitarian projects. And we're like, this is amazing. Like, we want our kids to grow up experiencing the world. Cause I'd never left the country till we were in our 20s, right? First time I left, I'm like, the world's amazing. And so that it was this draw out to have experiences and create memories and raise our children with like a global perspective. So that's kind of the short version of getting us down there.
Man, so talk to me about that like transitional, and this may be hard for you to remember because it was so long ago, but like talk to me about the transitional process and the mindset behind that. Because on one side you have a real perceived security, stability. Everybody else is doing this. This is the way everybody lives their life. And now you're thinking about something else so contrarian to what most people are familiar with, and it's unknown, and it could be scary, and you're giving up a steady income. And like, so talk to me about like how you guys navigated that situation.
Yeah, man, and we remember it's so vivid because the emotions were so intense, right? There was fear of the unknown, fear of failure, fear of the finances. And honestly, what's interesting at the time and then looking back, what was so challenging was that it was unconventional. And the people around us are like, what is wrong with you guys? You're crazy. Where now, like, this was before there were like blogs and before like the travel thing went crazy. People are all over the planet now. We were kind of just rolling out, and we didn't know anybody. There weren't any blogs. We weren't reaching out. Like, I had met some random person that had driven the Pan American Highway. I'm like, is it doable? And they're like, yeah. I was like, okay. like you guys, when we got to the Mexican border, we had 4 little kids. There were 8. So we adopted our oldest, and then had 3 kids. So we had 4 kids that were ages 4 and under. We get to the US Mexican border. We are terrified. Like, I got butterflies so bad. My stomach's in a knot. I'm white knuckle gripping my steering wheel. Like, what are we doing? And we cross the border, and we're driving for a few hours, and we get in there. And we're like, what were we so afraid of? Like, this is awesome. And we stayed at the beach that night. It's a sweet hotel, and then wandered down. But yeah, the challenge, and this is true for all of us, whatever we approach, right? Like, our thing is family travel. We love to travel. Like, we've taken our kids all over the globe now. But whatever each individual or family chooses, if it's a little nonconformist, if it's unconventional, there's that challenge there of like stepping away from the script or the prescribed plan and just saying, man, this is what we want for our life. And that could be even like working from home or doing home education or whatever it is you pursue. And man, the thing that has always made the difference for us is staying connected to our vision of what we want most and holding on to that when it seems crazy or difficult, or there's people that are cynical or critical. I mean, we have to hold on to a vision of what you want.
Gotcha, man. And so I'm guessing, so 7 kids now, and would you guys consider yourselves kind of like, how would you describe yourselves? Are you nomads? Are you travelers? Are you just experiencing the world? Like, how would you describe what you do to people?
Yeah, for a while we were totally nomadic. We've done just about every form of travel except a sailboat yet. That's still on the list. But we've done the RV. We did an overlanding rig from Alaska to Panama. We did, the top of England all the way to the bottom of Italy, and then Eastern Europe. I mean, we've been all over the place, and we would go and stay for months or years in different countries or places. Now we have a home base. You can see in the video all the books. We have lots and lots of books and lots of stuff.
Okay, I'm a little jealous here, man. I got to tell you, like, I'm a little jealous.
It's so it's awesome. So we have a home base, and then we just travel from a base. So we're actually going to change bases now. We're heading back to Europe. We spent a couple of years wandering around Europe, and our last daughter was born in Germany. Our daughter before that was born in Costa Rica, and our son before that was born up in Alaska. And so we just were kind of raising our family on the road. But the thing that drives us, gentlemen, is like the world and the people in the world are so incredible. And we value memories and experiences over everything else as a family. And we get to go and our lives are touched by people and places. And we always go hoping to leave people and places better than we found it, right? To go serve and love and connect. And that just drives us, man.
Dude, that is incredible. So tell me a little bit about what you like. So you mentioned serving, and actually when you were down in Guatemala, I know this is something that you had taken up there. Are you traveling these places and what are you doing? Like, you're there for a significant amount of time. Like, what are you doing when you're actually there?
So as far as work or just living or
Well,
both?
do you have a mission? Like for every place you go, hey, we're here to do X and experience the culture and meet people. Like,
Yeah.
is
So it kind of feeds back to like an overall philosophy on life and a family philosophy. Kind of circling back to where I started, going out on my own at 16 and just trying to figure out life, man. It was tough. I was in some rough neighborhoods and some bad times. And there was times where I had no family, no friends. Like I literally was just like, how do you do life? And I was shy. I was broke. And people reached out to me, man. It was amazing. Like random people would show up with a box of food, be like, hey man, I noticed you're struggling. Hope this helps. Or some great guy put his arm around me and be like, you know what, man, you can do this. Like you can pull out of this. You can make whatever life you want. And there was these little points of help. In fact, one time, I went to pack up this. Gosh, this is so meaningful to me. I was in high school and I was broke, and I'm like, I can't even stay in school because I have to work to eat. And so I went over to clear out my locker, and a football coach, he walked past. He's like, "What are you doing?" He's like, I can't stay in school, man. I got to work just so I can eat and pay rent and stuff. And I'm like, and I have no place to stay. He's like, what? He's like, hold on, step into my office for a minute. Come here. I'm like, what? He's just come here, sit down. See, and at the time, I didn't know this, man. But looking back, it was newlywed with a brand new baby. He sits down in his office, picks up the phone, calls his wife. He's like, hey, man, there's a student here. He's got to drop out. Can he come live with us? And she was like, sure.
wow, dude.
And you guys, they took me into their home. I mean, now having my family, like when I was a newlywed with a daughter, like he brought me in, and they just included me in their family, took me on family trips, and like that was the first real example up close of a phenomenal marriage and just genuinely superb human beings. Like I will never forget those people. And so my drive kind of became like, I want to be a great force for good in the world. Like wherever I go, whatever I do, any interactions, even the smallest interactions, or if I can make a difference in somebody's life or help empower them and just pass along the good that was done for me, that just totally transformed my life. That's what I want to do. So that's kind of the broad answer. It's like, it's just a philosophy. It's a way of being. It's like, we just want to be a great force for good in the world and just go around and spread love and kindness and empowerment.
I love that. I wonder why you've adopted your first kid based on the fact what you just shared with us.
Yes. Same. I just had this drive to reach out. And so we're like, let's adopt. And, she was born in Chicago, little black girl. And her mom was on drugs and alcohol, and it was like her fifth pregnancy. She was only 22, just terrible circumstances. Same thing. It was just like, hey, let's bring a soul into our lives and help any way we can.
Wow. I love your heart, man. So listen, I got a question for you because I get this asked quite often. I came out of a broken home too. My parents got divorced when I was 8. And so my question to you is this. Because if you think about it, growing up when you were young and kid, you have this environment. Like for you, it was broken environment. You were on your own. And typically people end up making 2 choices. One, this is just in my environment. There is no choice. What else am I going to do? Right? It's just how it is. And I'm just going to be doing the same exact thing. Or end up choosing another option. And that is, I'm going to go and, do something different, impact the world, whatever you want to call it. Why do you think you made that choice? How was it that you were able to make that choice where you're now impacting people, you're traveling, you're doing those kinds of things, as opposed to my environment is such and such, and I'm just screwed?
Yeah, man, that's such a great question. That's one I've actually thought about that a lot over the years, because at the lowest point, like I was living in this rundown shack of a house in a really bad part of town, and literally surrounded by drugs and alcohol and violence and sex. I mean, the people getting abortions and domestic violence, it was all there. And I was sitting there, and I give credit to God for this. Like for some reason at 16, I could just see like, I don't want any of this in my life. Like none of it. I didn't touch it. I didn't touch the alcohol, the drugs, the sex, none of it. I'm like, this doesn't end up well. Like I ended up being like the designated driver and picking up the mess. And I'm like, you're trying to drown your problems. And then the next day your problems are worse. I'm like, I want nothing to do with this. And so at first it was just, I could see that clearly for some reason. It was just, credit to God. I could just see that I didn't want that. But then my biggest challenge was overcoming my own insecurities, my own fear, my own self-doubt. Like, is it even possible to be happy? And I started searching for it, started reading voraciously then, and reading these great books where I had these beautiful mentors from these books. And I thought, I think this is possible. I think I can pull this off. And if it's possible, I'm going for it. I'm going all the way. Like I'm going to, if I can get married, I'm going to get married one day, and I'm never, ever going to allow my kids to have anything close to what I'm experiencing. I'm going to be the best dad in the world. Right. And that drove me. That gave me that hunger to want to be happy.
That speaks to my heart because I feel like I make similar decision when I was, young too, at 80 years old. So here's my question. You're reading these books, right? You're looking for different way of life, right? Something's got to be different. You see there's something possible there. Is that enough for you, or was there a conversation at any point like, yeah, but works for them, but well, me, I don't know if it's gonna work for me, or what was it that kept you going through those times to get you out of the hole? Because listen, we have many conversations with people where they're in a bad place, right, in their life. And they're struggling, whether it's mentally or financially or all kinds of stuff, for the past 2 years, look what's been happening, right? So my question to you is, what would you say to someone who, there's maybe some possibility, there's a little twinkle there. Mm-hmm. But is it possible for me? It's possible for them. They could do it, but what about me?
Exactly. I got to this point. I think the first step in that was I was reading something, or maybe it was a few things, and it finally clicked for me. Like, wait a minute. My life will be exactly what I make of it, which was weird. That was kind of new for me, right? Because I was the mayor of Victimville, man. I was like, well, my mom this, my dad that, it's the government, the IRS, the job, it's the circumstances, like it's everybody else's fault. And at some point, like I realized, and I don't even know, again, it's miraculous, man. I look back at my life, I'm like, I didn't have a chance. Like the odds were not in my favor, but somehow I mentally drew a line in the sand. And I was like, yeah, their decisions had major negative impact on my life. But from this point right here forward, my life will be what I make of it. And I took total ownership. And I'm like, okay, right here. So if I want anything different, I have to be different. If I want a better life, I have to become a better person. And everything will get better as I get better. And I think what gave me hope was I read books like The Hiding Place by Corey ten Boom, right? And Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. I mean, they were in concentration camps.
Nope.
And reading from them, I was like, okay, there's no way my life's even that bad. So if they got out of this, if they were be able to be forgiving and be able to find happiness and purpose, like I can do this. And so it was those two things, I think, leaving Victimville and then saying, look, if they can do it in the hardest of circumstances, I can figure it out here.
Dude, it's fascinating because that's such a choice that goes both ways. Like some people choose to continue with the path they're on, and other people said like, nope, that's not going to be me. Talk to me a little bit about like, so as you took this path, you started traveling, seeing the world, serving, your family's growing. Like what are some of the things that you've really kind of, what's changed in your perspective, and what are some of the things that you've discovered along your journey that most people may not be aware of because they haven't had the same experiences as you?
Oh man, that's an awesome question, a huge question, right? Because we feel like, I think if we as people will go with an open heart and open mind into a place or a conversation or connection, every time we can walk away as better people, like understanding things differently, right? So you start hitting more cultures and more traditions and more places. It starts to expand your whole reality. My wife and I always talk about it's like you have this map and it's all darkened out until you go and have a personal experience with it, and then that part lights up. And you go to another part and it lights up, and you start lighting up like all these little lit up lights all over the globe. Like we went and lived in India and worked with people who had been affected by leprosy. And so deeply immersed in this Hindu culture and a totally foreign culture to ours. We went and lived in Morocco and surrounded by Islam and the Muslim people, and learned to love them, deeply, deeply love them. And they embraced our family and took us in, and like it just totally annihilates prejudice, right? And all these preconceived ideas we have, like, well, this people are like this and these people are like that. When you go live among them and love them and connect with them, you're like, okay, like you cannot tell my kids that, well, Indians are like this or Muslims like that or this, like Mexicans are like this. No, you can't, because they're like, oh no, we have friends there and we know what it's like. We've been in that world. And so it just totally expands your reality. And one of the things that I think has been so profound for all of us is that our common humanity. And that the vast majority of people in the world are so good and would just bend over backwards to help you. And if you were in need, right? It's been a beautiful thing to see our common humanity around the globe.
Man, I get, it's funny you say that, because I think it's so easy for us to be kind of sequestered and isolated from other cultures and other people, and make blind assumptions and, just generalizations that, until you get to meet them and you find out these are people just like me. I mean, yeah, certainly there's some differences in the way we've been brought up in our culture, but like at the end of the day, we're all people. Like we're all inhabiting this globe together, and most people are probably a whole lot more similar than they are different.
Exactly. And the crazy thing, we do that with our next door neighbor, man. Like we don't have to go across the globe. It's like, right. Oh, well, the neighbor. No, man, everybody has a story. And when you hear and understand their story, you get to begin to understand them. And it's a beautiful transformation.
So tell me about, man, like, so you got 7 kids. This is almost like you're going to need a compound, man. Forget about a base. You're going to need a compound here soon.
Exactly.
Like, he's almost there to have a soccer team.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So what do you guys have, like a family mission and a family vision? And how do you see this progressing? Like, because you're giving your kids an upbringing unlike almost anybody else.
Yeah. And
I can't even imagine how that's going to benefit them and how it's influenced them. Like, how do you see this playing out in a family vision?
Yeah. Thanks for asking that. This is when Rachel and I got married, we were like, okay, we're building a family legacy. And we both had to kind of be the change in our own family generations, right? There was this family generations going, and we're like, hey, let's stop right here. Let's craft a long-term family legacy. So this sounds weird. We don't have any grandkids yet. Our oldest is just turning 20. We're talking about our grandkids all the time, because we want legacy. Like we've always thought, like, as we're raising our children, we're thinking, what kind of adults do we want our children to be? How do we want them to raise their kids? So it's longer term thinking, and it shifts the way you do life, right? So we have this legacy of like we're saying, like, be a great force for good in the world. And we've really built our education around that as a family, our experiences around that, and we want them to have this global perspective. So we actually have, and this is so cool, you ask in the compound, right? So we're heading over to Portugal, and we're going to set up the first one there. We have one in Guatemala. We're going to set up the big one in Portugal.
So they do have compounds.
Huh. Oh yeah. We have the whole vision. It's right on my vision board, like right behind my computer screen is this vision board of what we're going to build. But it's a place where everything inside and out is for inspiration and growth and learning, from a huge library to a weight room, to a martial arts room, to a rock climbing wall, to the gardens, to a dance floor. And we're going to be able to house at least 30 or 40 people, because we lead retreats. So my wife and I lead retreats for couples all over the globe. I lead retreats for men. And then because I have youth, we lead retreats for youth, and we take them all over the place, right? And we're going to set up this compound, right? We call it the estate or whatever, where everything that's happening there is for growth and learning and healing and recovery and inspiration. And that that our whole family can just be this great force for good in the world, right? Helping people be their best self.
Dude, that is awesome, man.
Yeah.
That is super
I
cool.
guess so fired up even talking about
Yeah,
it.
man. I'm fired up. Like, this is awesome.
So
So
watch Bojo because now he's got 3 kids. I mean, you're shooting for
Yeah.
like 7 now, Bojo?
I got some catching up to do here. Yeah. So that's awesome, man. And so I imagine too, like, as this generational thing and legacy extends, now your kids are going to kind of take that torch and run with it. And who knows what this could lead to, man? Like,
Well,
this is phenomenal.
The coolest thing happened just this week, man. My daughter is going on a really extended mission trip to the Dominican Republic.
Oh,
Wow.
And that happened Tuesday,
dude,
right? And we had lived in the DR when she was 6.
Hmm.
And so the older one speaks Spanish, right? So experiences, she's going back to serve and love and connect, right? And it was just like, it was so emotional and special for our family. Like, she's going back to this place where we had been. We had this touch point. She's going to go serve and love these people. My son, he's 18. He's already a professional stuntman here in Atlanta, right? And because we'd been out having all these epic adventures, and we've done flips off of everything since he was 4. And it was just this natural. He's like, wait a minute, I can get paid to do this? Like, where do I sign up?
Yeah.
Right?
nice.
And he's already doing that. It's really cool. Something special, actually. I'll just share this little kind of just a glimpse into a day in the life of. Today's his half birthday. And we celebrate half birthdays in our families, birthdays and half birthdays, because it's individual attention, right? And this little tradition we have is we sit around the table, the whole family, and we go around one by one, and we share something we love, like, or admire, or honor in that person.
Mm.
And man, it is such a simple tradition, but so profound, so impactful, awesome. So powerful to just give that individual attention. And we all go around and say, hey, look, I love this about you. I honor this about you. This is special about you. And man, it makes you feel like $1 million, right? And you see the value in that love and attention. It's just incredible. And before that, we went out and did a ruck march. My boys and I, we put in 2.5 miles this morning with weighted vests on, and then did a plank challenge. So we hit it hard. It's a good morning, man.
Yeah, man. That's awesome.
So your daughter is going to mission trip. Your son is a stuntman. So your kids are rocking it out. What's your thing? Are you like a Conor McGregor lookalike thing going on, or what?
I love martial arts. We do Krav Maga every week. There's training in Krav Maga. So my whole approach is you have to be a whole man, right? I've wanted, really, once I started at 16, 17, I'm like getting a vision who I could become. Like, you got to work on the whole package. I didn't want to be like, well, I could be really good at this and then kind of suck at this. Like that just wasn't acceptable to me. Like, you got to be physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, socially, and financially. You just got to rock it, all of it. And take the whole picture where you're an awesome protector and provider, and you're a great leader, and so whatever is worth doing is worth doing well. And so we go after it, and we try to fit it into our weekly routine. So I'm doing Krav Maga, we're doing the training, we do actually join this unbelievable group that does international rescue and humanitarian efforts. They just took off yesterday to Pakistan to help with the flooding. So we're going through all the training to participate in that kind of stuff. My oldest son and I are doing that, and we're involved in like leveling up every area of our life that's important and significant.
So you, Greg, you're far along this path, and if I'm a listener right now who I have a job at corporate America, and I'm like, this sounds amazing, but I don't even know the first step in. How are they financing this? How many languages do they know? Like all the things that could pop up is a sign of like, how do you actually do this? Like, what are some of the things you've learned, like that someone could like, how much does it cost to travel around the world? And do I need to know 30 different languages? And are my kids going to be safe? And, people start worrying about everything from vaccinations to there's so many things that people can get stuck in their way as roadblocks. Like, how do you get around that stuff?
Yeah. That's such an important question, brother, because when we look at things like that, whatever the dream is, right? For us, it's travel, but for anybody else, it could be any kind of dream. Like they want an amazing apartment in the city or a huge farm, self-reliant farm out in the country or whatever the dream is. If we look at it like you were just describing it, which is what most of us do, it seems so overwhelming.
Yeah.
You're like, that's so much. Like, there's no way I can do it. And we felt that too. But then we started breaking it down. Like, okay, what if we bust this down into small pieces and we fit it into even the busiest weekly schedule? You can fit pieces in there to start building your dream. So here's an example. I can just look it up right now. So I use Duolingo, right, to learn languages. So we all speak fluent Spanish, and then we're doing French and then Portuguese. So my personal commitment was I'm going to become fluent in a new language every 5 years. It takes about 5 years. You just study it consistently. I'm going to be fluent. Every 5 years, I'll speak a new language, fluency. So with French and Duolingo right now, I just hit 800 and I think 60 days or something. Consecutive days, right? Because it's just like they gamify it. So yeah, I'm at 895 today. 895 consecutive days of just learning language. And it's just a few minutes a day, but then it comes, right? And so you fit that in. You just start getting a vision of what you want. You're like, man, I got to be healthy. I gotta be healthy, right? Because your body's your vehicle for life. So you squeeze in a workout and you eat healthy food and you start piecing it together. And then you're like, okay, well, what do I do for income? How could I do it? If some people want to work from home or work from another country, like, well, how could I do that? Well, how is that possible? And you start building a business or a side hustle, and you do a little bit each week, right? And so you just start crafting you have to get a vision first, right? Get a vision of the ideal lifestyle, how you want to do life, who you want to become, and how you want to do life, and then just start building the pieces. And it's incredible, man. Like what you can accomplish by just piecing it together a little bit at a time, right?
Yeah, I agree with the question that what you just said, because someone who's listening, they're like, man, this guy travels. He goes all over the place. He's doing this. He's got 7 kids. Did he figure out how to have 25 hours in a day? Right? I mean,
yeah.
And, because one of the things that we talk about at our events is like, you've got to figure out your calendar, right?
Yes.
And then life, and totally aligns with what you are talking about. So that I think is really important for people to see. So my question to you is this: you got those little pieces that you're doing. What do you think it makes a difference for you that has you do all this stuff?
It's what I call holistic optimization.
What does that mean?
So it's the whole life. So one cool way, maybe people have seen the life wheel. You took it like a wheel, right? And each spoke on a wheel is an important aspect of your life. So it could be your health, your marriage, your parenting. Actually, the way I did it, so you guys have been geeking out for over 25 years on personal development and human performance, right? I've read at least a book a week for over 2 decades. I still do. Just maintain this, and I'm interviewing people. I literally work with thousands of people across 5 continents. I geek out about this stuff. And I a couple of years ago, I was like, how can I compile this? Like, what are the most important elements? How can I bring it into one, simple whole? And I came up with what I call the triple trifecta. I actually have it here on my desk. So it's this,
I like that.
It's this interconnected 3 triangles that are interconnected, right? And then my son's like, that looks like a shield. Let's throw a sword through it. And it became the logo, right? I'm like, yeah. But the triple trifecta, ultimately, it's these 3 things, right? It's the first triangle is fitness, but it's fitness in mind, body, and spirit. The second one is family, and that's marriage, parenting, and family legacy. And then the third one is finances. It's your income, your expenses, and your investments. And if you so it's 3 main things, but 3 in each, so it's 9 things. And if you just keep 9 things front and center, and you guys do what you're teaching, you get your calendar dialed in the right way, and you optimize it, then you can fit so much in. You increase your capacity. You can do way more in less time, and still love life, right? It's incredible how much you can get done if you're optimized. The challenge is we sit around like wasting time. We get distracted. We're like every spare minute, we're just like scrolling on whatever, like, blowing time, or trying to buffer, or trying to distract. We get lost down these rabbit holes. But if you're like, no, this this is who I am, this is how I do life, then man, you have plenty of time to work out, date your wife, adventure with your kids, serve in your community, like have super cool hobbies and things you love to do, light you up, work on your education, spend time with God and your spiritual journey. Or you can fit it all, but you have to be optimized, right? There's no room there for just wasting life.
Man, that's huge. And I mean, you really hit, I think, like all the major points in the head. And so what is it, do you think that most people just don't know what they need to focus on, or you think they just get too distracted and they don't have a vision and maybe they don't prioritize enough? Like why don't more people pursue this?
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. I think it's a mix. Sometimes I meet a lot of great guys, right? I get to work with people and coach every day, and some genuinely don't know, like they were never taught. Right? I made a video yesterday, and I was thinking, like, whoever pulled us aside and gave you the formula for success as a man?
All right.
Like, I never got it. Like, I had to search for it, trial and error, reading. I mean, it was a quest. You never get pulled aside, like, hey, look, these are the things that just work. Get these things dialed in, practice, get it refined, then you got it, right? I never got that lesson, right? Especially because I didn't have a dad in the home or a good example of manliness. And so some guys genuinely don't know. Like, they were never taught. In fact, for the most part, they may have picked up the wrong thing from their parents or teachers, whatever, fixed mindsets. Well, Peter, you referred to this, like, oh, this is just the way things are. This is just the way my life is. I'm stuck, right? So some people don't know. And that's one group. And the other group is like, yeah, I know I should do those things, but either I don't know how or I don't feel like it, right? And so then it's setting up life systems to help you do what you know you should do. The easiest example of this is like, I need to eat better. And then, we go visit their house. I'm like, dude, look at your pantry. You have a lifetime supply of Oreos, bro. He's like, yeah, but I don't eat them. I'm like, I bet that lasts until you have a bad day. And then you eat a whole package. So your system is sabotaging your success. So you clean out the pantry, and now you're like, dude, if I want junk food, I have to get in my car and literally drive to the store. Okay, I'm not going to do it.
Yeah. Right. Dude, I like that. The system is sabotaging your success. That's great. And so it sounds like there's also all these like little things that you can do to kind of keep you on, you put up the bumper rails, like to keep you in the lane that you want to be in.
Exactly.
And so the rest of your family kind of shares the same sentiment? You guys are all on the same page with this stuff?
They are, man. And we've been intentional about it. We always wanted them to, freedom of choice, you guys choose, but we were very intentional about helping them have what's called a growth mindset, right? Like, hey, you can figure this out. Doesn't matter how hard it is, you can do it. If you work at it, you can figure this out. And to adopt like these philosophies and identities around going after it, right? So one of the things we share in our family, DDHT, Dennings do hard things. And we've been just saying that forever. They just embrace it. So we're out on a hike or something, or we're out doing something hard, and they're like, yeah, DDHT. And the cutest thing in the world is my little 5-year-old. She's heard that her whole life, and she'll say it. And it's like, she'll run upstairs to get a toy, and she's like, I'm so tired. Dennings do hard things. And I'm like, oh, it's adorable. Like, it's already in her head that we do hard things. And so then, my older kids, then they fully embrace it. So we went to this super hardcore training, my son Parker and I, and in 4 days, gentlemen, we slept 6 hours as part of this training. It was
that's like Navy SEAL stuff, man.
It was. And it's this humanitarian effort led by former SF guys, special forces guys. And so they're pushing us hard. And Parker and I were like, yeah, let's go. And it was just grinding. And he's right there with me, smiling, and he's all in. And the other guys are like, dude, I don't think I've ever met an 18-year-old like this. It's like,
you guys smoking, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like, what? Are you on something? Like, what is this? But it's leading by example. It's teaching them like those principles, the philosophies, right? Of like, let's get clear about who you want to be and how you want to do life, and then make sure you just make it your mental, emotional, spiritual way of being.
So, dude, that's awesome, man. And so I know we're running out of time here, but there's one last thing I want to touch on, which is like, serving others and, being, a great force for good, like you mentioned, is so critical to the mission that you've kind of established for your family. Talk to me about why that's important. And I think, there's probably a spiritual component in there as well. Talk to us about that and how that ties things together.
Yeah. Perhaps that's the most important thing, right? Is that every day we literally wake up with the privilege and opportunity to do some good in the world, to have a positive effect. And it doesn't have to be grandiose. It can be. I mean, like, we can jump on a plane and head over to Pakistan and help people that are flood victims, or you can jump online and share something nice or say something nice. You can give a compliment. I'm sure you gentlemen are like me. Somebody gave you a compliment years ago. You still remember it vividly. You're like, boom, that hit. And so, like, every day we can, if we will, like, you can just make it your way of being to go around helping people love themselves more and have a little hope and a little light. Most people are going through some tough times. In fact, I hope I'm wrong, but I think extremely tough times are coming in the next few years. We're in a bit of a social and economic winter right now, and tough times are coming. And so we've got to be able to keep our heads up and walk around and share light and energy. Here's one thing that I always emphasize. You and I must be responsible for the energy that we bring.
Yep.
Because our thoughts, our words, our mannerisms, everything is an energy. And we can walk in and be a dark cloud in the room, right? And people can just feel the cold negativity when you're in a bad mood and they're like, wah. Or you walk in like, I don't care what's going on here. I'm bringing the light. And so we can be the thermometer that just rises up and down with where we are at work or at church or at home, or we can be the thermostat and say, oh no, this is where I stay and this is what I bring. And so we can go into any experience, any interaction, any engagement, any circumstance where everyone else is complaining, this is terrible. And you'd be like, boom, what an opportunity here. Obstacles are opportunity. Let's go. How can we make the best of this? And you can shift the whole crowd.
Yep.
What a privilege. And I think for me personally, maybe it's not for everybody, for me personally, because others helped me, I have a moral obligation to pass that along.
Yeah.
There are people that stepped in at just the right moment in my life that literally changed the course of my life. And because of that, I feel a moral obligation to do the same for others.
Man, I feel very similarly. I feel like it's almost like a responsibility, like one that I shoulder willingly and joyfully, because, I've been blessed so well that, like, we get blessed so that we can bless others. And like, you are living that, man. You and your family are just a ray of hope, man, and of light in people's lives. And it's not just in some places. Like, you are making your way around the globe, my brother. This is awesome, man. How do people learn more about you, find out more about your journey and like everything you're doing? Where can they learn more?
Yeah, thanks, man. So we're on social media, Greg.Denning on Instagram, or Greg Denning on Facebook. My wife hers is World School Family. It's like homeschool, but World School. That's kind of what we call it with our kids. The education
it's awesome.
piece.
Awesome.
So World School Family. And then she and I, we do a podcast together called The Extraordinary Family Life. And then I host a podcast called Be the Man. We're sharing that stuff. And our website is extraordinaryfamilylife.com. And I have a masterclass for men as well. It's called Be the Man Masterclass.
Oh man, that is awesome.
And we got all kinds of stuff. We're just sharing. We feel so blessed, and we're living like this genuinely extraordinary life. And like, I guess our message is, and this calling we feel is like, man, if I can go from where I was to where I am and where we're going, anybody can do this. And I feel like it's my mission to share the tools and the tactics that just work.
Yeah.
I love that. So in that masterclass, do you teach men how to grow a beard? Because I need a lesson in that. And I think Wilbur needs a lesson in hair.
There's got to be some kind of magic oil for beard growth or something.
Peter has whiskers.
Nice.
Dude, it's been an honor, privilege. Thank you so much for being on the show, brother.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Dude, that was awesome, man. I don't even know where to start. Like, this is so cool. Greg's awesome. I had the chance to meet him in person and his family. Well, it was a smaller family back then. Gosh, probably 8 years ago in Guatemala when I was on a mission trip. And they had traveled down there in this converted, I think it was like an F-250 or something like that they totally converted into this like travel vehicle. And now to see where it's gone over the past, almost a decade now, it's incredible, man. Like these guys are living something that most people would think is just like out of this world, impossible. No way. It's just not even on the table. It's nuts.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that I'm hoping that this interview has done for people is break through some of their barriers of thinking I can't do that or this can't be, it's not possible, whatever the case may be, because he's a living example of what is possible in life.
And look where he came from, man. Like it's not like he was, grew up with a silver spoon and like was handed this and taught all this. No, man, he figured it out. He pulled himself up out of that. He just said, I don't want this. And he talked about creating a vision for what he wanted for his life and for his family and his legacy. And he's living it. The one thing that I thought was awesome that really struck me is what he said, like, because I brought up the question, man, because a lot of people are like, well, this sounds like incredibly overwhelming. And you just start with he mentioned it, like the small steps, the small stuff. And he mentioned, I wrote this down. He said, your systems can sabotage your success. Like, what are you doing in your life that it's helping you get to where you want to be versus hurting you,
Right. And it takes little steps and being intentional. I mean, look, when he was talking about all those different things that he's doing in life, that his family's doing in life, how you fit all these pieces. So he made it very simple. In this case, he had those 3 triangles, right? And
the
3-for-3 kind of a
triple,
thing.
The triple triad.
Yep. And he basically went and started putting that in his calendar and actually started attacking it. And that's what has him go and be creative and be intentional and going after life. Like, dude, they're like,
oh man,
I feel like he's playing this game of life. Like today's my last day.
Oh, and he's on a different level. Like he's on a different level than most people do it. And the other thing here is like it's a small steps, it's the systems, it's being consistent. He mentioned on Duolingo he's on day like 895 and for French or something like that. And but you're doing these small things, but you're not losing you're not losing sight of the big picture. Like, and so at the heart of this, he mentioned it a few times, being an extraordinary force for good, being a force for good in the world, and and that's just such an awesome thing. And one thing I want people to realize is like all those things, those areas, those 9 areas he mentioned, right? Some people may look at that and be like, well, I don't have time to work on all that stuff because I have to go do X, Y, and Z, and I have these other commitments. But working on those things and working on yourself allow you to do those other things. Like, so you can't give what you don't have. And so this is where it's really important. Like, regardless of where you are, you gotta focus on you so that you can help others, so that you can do these other things. And so I don't think anybody would ever say like Greg is selfish for working on these things, because look at what he's doing. And so he's found the formula to really making the realization of how him becoming the best version of himself. And he talked about this being a holistic, right? Like not being a great, husband, but you're totally out of shape and you can't make money. Like, so he's like, all these different areas are important. And that's what allows him to give so much.
Right. And notice how part of this whole entire thing, he mentioned about 4 or 5 different times about having a vision for his life.
Yep.
And actually having vision for his entire family. So we keep talking about it on this show about having your life vision.
Yep.
It is so, so, so important, because think about circumstances, life, whatever it might be coming in your way, and that's what's going to drive you. One thing that I've noticed with him too is notice how there's the impossibilities of fears. Like he talked about the fears a little bit at the beginning.
Yeah.
I have to believe that his reasons for doing this is why his drive is that much bigger than all those fears. And that's what keeps them going. That's what, look at like the little phrase that he used, Denning's doing it hard or something along those lines, right? DDHT, right?
Denning's do hard things, yeah.
Right. I mean, look how it's perpetuating through the entire family. Now, if you think about it.
How awesome is that, right?
We all have these ideas that perpetuate through our families. Think about it. How many times have we met someone at the 3-day events when they say, money is the root of all evil.
Yeah.
It's one of those things that it's not true, but it perpetuates because it gets passed down. So if that's the case, why don't we just pass on something like that, what he just talked about, to perpetuate it through a family? And that's how he's changing the entire family legacy.
Well, that's where, man, like I think he has the vision, but he also has a family vision and a family mission. And now, and it doesn't just start and end with him and his kids. He's talking about his grandkids now.
Right.
Like and he doesn't even have any yet. It's amazing. It's so intentional and so deliberate in the way he does this. Like, it's just awesome. I mean, it's just super cool to see that, man. It's just such a higher level that I think is just, it's, someone may look at him and feel like that's impossible, but I mean, he's been working at it for a while. He's been intentional about it. And I think he's an inspiration to people because I think, he's showing you can do it. You can do it.
Yeah, it takes one step at a time.
Yeah.
We noticed it several times. Low things, or start taking low things. That's going to start shifting. Right. Your environment's going to start shifting who you are. And before you know it, you might look back and you're like, wow, look who I've become.
Right.
Because listen, we've experienced this. You've experienced this. I've experienced, many people have experienced this. Or when you look back at your life, you're a completely different person now that you were, 5-10 years ago, even a year ago.
Yeah. Yep. I mean, yeah, it's just awesome, man, to see those results. And I love seeing him give it back and just have a heart for service and for the Lord and everything, man. It's just awesome. Yeah. Totally awesome interview. I would encourage any of you guys to learn more about them for sure. Like, just great people. So listen, if you guys enjoyed this episode as much as we did, give us a like, give us a share, give us a comment, subscribe. Let us know that you enjoy this stuff, you're getting something valuable out of it. If you would like to be around other people that are working on their vision and helping others do the same, then get into our private Facebook group. This thing is it's exploding. There's all kinds of great content over there. There's people that are focused on growth, that are focused on living their vision, and love seeing other people succeed as well. Until next time, everybody, take care. Have a great week.